Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hey everybody, Alex Stephenson and Jake Faas here. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. We've got the last of the Khans of Tarkir spoilers out, so Jake and I are just going to go through the remaining relevant rares and mythics. And we've also got a brand new Make-A-Wish for this week, where we take the theme from any movie, TV show, book, and we turn it into a mini magic set. So, Jake, how's it going?
I'm pretty good. How are you
That's
doing,
good.
dude?
I know you're having some internet issues, but let's just try and get through this pod as cleanly as possible. And if you drop out, no big deal. You can just join back in, and we'll continue chatting. But yeah, let's jump into Make-A-Wish. I'm really excited about this week's Make-A-Wish. It's Willow, which is one of my personal favorite movies. It's got to be one of my top 5 movies. And Jake, you've seen this movie probably with me a ton of times, right?
Yeah, I've seen. I know that you can quote it. You guys
Yeah.
have a quoting quota.
To an unhealthy amount, yeah. I can definitely quote Willow a lot. But I was really happy to make this set, and Jake helped me with some of the mechanic ideas and some of the design for it. So let's do it. All right, we've got it. I've kind of got it arranged in the order of how the movie plays out, if it's not sick enough already. So we've got Nockmaar Death Dog. If you remember in the beginning, the chosen baby is born, and you can tell by the identifying tattoo mark on its arm. And this baby is prophesized to kill Queen Bavmorda, who's an evil sorceress who's kind of ruling the lands at this time. So the baby escapes from a handmaiden, and the Nockmaar Death Dogs are kind of sent to go hunt that woman down and get the baby. So the Nockmaar Death Dog is a 2 and a black 2/2 hound creature. It's a common, and whenever it's blocked or becomes blocked, whenever it blocks or becomes blocked by a green or white creature, you destroy that creature at end of combat. And then the flavor text on it is, the Death Dog's favorite foods are Nelwyn and children. So this is the scene where it comes in to the town looking for the baby that's floated down the river, and Von Kar's forced to stab it with a spear. So that was a cool scene. Next we have actual Elora Danan, the Chosen One herself. Elora Danan is the name of the Chosen One, the baby. And she's a green and a white for a 0/1 hexproof legendary human creature. She's a mythic. So she has hexproof. When she enters the battlefield, you get to choose a color, and then other creatures you control have protection from the chosen color and get +1/+1. Elora Danan, the Chosen One, can't attack or block, and when she dies, you lose the game. And then the quote on her is, Elora Danan must survive. She must fulfill her destiny and bring about the downfall of Queen Bavmorda. And that's Sherlindria talking to Willow and Migosh when they got stuck in the brownie forest. That was a cool scene, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like Elora Danan, how she came out, because she's pretty squishy, but the fact that she's hexproof means the only way to really kill her is with, board wipes or board sweepers. And her into the battlefield ability is pretty powerful, pumping your other guys protection from color and getting +1/+1. So it's like a combination of a Lord effect and like a Ward Sliver. And you remember how strong Ward Sliver was, right, Jake?
Right. Yeah, I definitely do. I do think she could probably cost 4 mana and still be justified, honestly.
Yeah, probably. But the fact that I think she's just sort of like a card that hoses decks that don't have any sweepers, but she doesn't do anything on her own too, which makes her a little bit weaker. She requires other creatures to really do anything.
Yeah, it's true. But protection from a color is really strong.
It is. What can I say? She's the chosen one, Jake.
I
All
guess
right.
so.
Next, we have Willow Ufgood. Of course, the namesake of the movie Willow. So, Willow is a green and a blue for a 1/3 Nelwyn wizard creature. Um, he's got Benevolent, which is one of the mechanics of the set. And Benevolent is whenever another creature you control blocks, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So, pretty powerful effect, but it only works on defense only. Jake, are you still with us?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool. Wasn't sure if I lost you there for a sec. Willow also has tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. If you'll recall, Willow was a farmer in the movie to start with, so it makes sense that he'd be able to gather some resources for you. And then he has a blue and tap, exile another target creature you control, then return that creature to the battlefield under your control. I don't know if you recall, but Willow Ufgood's good at the disappearing pig trick, where he can put a pig or any small animal into a bag and then make it disappear. So I thought that was cool, and it actually works with Magic because we've seen cards that have this before. What's the one from Avacyn Restored?
Uh, like the Nephalia Smuggler.
Yeah, that guy is kind of the card I looked at to make sure I got all the wording right. But then the flavor text on Willow Ufgood is Patience Willow, Courage Willow. Do you remember that in the movie? I don't know. Finn Rizal says it to him. And then he says courage to himself because
Yeah.
he always lacked courage. Um, the next card is High Aldwin the Patriarch. This is Bant color, so green, white, blue, for a 2/4 legendary Nelwyn wizard. And Nelwyn is actually a unique creature type to this set. So there were a couple where I adjusted the creature types to fit better with Magic, but Nelwyn I had to bring in because that is straight up what it was in Willow.
Mhm.
So High Aldwin the Patriarch has 2 activated abilities. One is white and tap. Put a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So if you remember that, he basically casts a spell on a stone and makes it turn into a bird to guide them. Which is funny. And then that's actually has to do with the flavor text on the bottom that says, ignore the bird, follow the river. Um, his other activated ability is a green and a blue, and it's look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a wizard creature card from among them and put it into your hand, then shuffle the rest into your library. Activate this ability only once each turn. Jake, did you get the reference on that activated ability?
Yeah, because isn't that the thing, like at the festival or whatever, he chooses one person to take as an apprentice?
Yeah, totally. You got it. So I thought that kind of was cool too. It's kind of a narrow activated ability since it only lets you look at the top 4 and only grab wizard creatures. But I figure since you can use it, once on your turn, once on your opponent's turn, and still make a bird creature, he's
It's
still
a
pretty good.
cool, it's a cool commander card for sure, like as a commander himself.
Cool. So you think you'd play it if it was a commander card?
Yeah, because it would not, I don't know that it would be very good in constructed. Like,
A
you
little
know,
bit too specific. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, a 2/4 that poops out 1/1 flyers is pretty good still.
Okay. Then we've got the bird token itself, and then finally we have High Aldwin's Acorns. I was actually really happy with this card. So this is an aura. It costs 2 colorless, a green and a white, and it's an enchant creature. It gives enchanted creature has tap. Put a petrification counter onto target creature with toughness 3 or less. It gains defender and becomes a colorless artifact in addition to its other types. Its activated abilities can't be activated. So I kind of took a cue from Zathrid Gorgon um, to make that card. So that card was very helpful in making High Aldwin's Acorns come out the way I wanted it to. But I'm like, I think High Aldwin's Acorns turned out perfect. It's like exactly how I would envision that card
Yeah.
being. So I could actually see them printing High Aldwin's Acorns as a card, don't you think? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. For flavor's sake, I guess I would wish that they would have like their own petrification counters or acorn counters on them that you removed to use them. But did he have an unlimited supply, or were there like only a certain number that he gave him?
He had a finite supply, and originally I had the card coming in with like 3 or 4 tokens on it,
Hmm.
but it actually just seemed really, um, it seemed
Counter.
too like, yeah, it seemed too convoluted
Okay.
when I had all that on it. It was like too many tokens, and then it's
Yeah.
an aura, so it was like I felt like it would have been too confusing.
Yeah.
But
I think that's fine then. If that's the like if you thought it was too confusing, then it probably was, and it wasn't worth the confusion.
yeah, I don't think it was.
It's an aura, you're right, and it costs 4, so it's not like you're really. I do question the colors though. I feel like black should have been involved in this.
Yeah, I guess the only issue with that was it's a like a good team card. Mostly it's the fact that it's green because it's acorns from nature, and then white because I could see white effects um, disabling creatures like with
Okay.
pacifism and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I think
Then
you're just thinking because it's petrification, you
yeah.
would expect it to be black.
Yeah. I think that's all it is too then.
I
It,
guess theoretically it could have been like junk colors, but then it was like too color intensive to ever be worth it, maybe. I don't know.
yeah. I wonder if like just put a stone counter or something like that on a creature, not petrification, but like if that would make it seem more white, as nitpicky as that is,
No,
you
I
know?
see what you're saying. And the only reason I use petrification is once again just was like what Zathrid Gorgon
Right.
said on
The
it.
precedent was set. Yeah. It makes sense.
Um,
I do like it overall. I think it's very flavorful for the movie.
yeah, makes me think of High Aldwin's Acorns for sure. All right, next we've got Mad Mardigan the Exiled. So he's 2 red and a white for a 3/2 benevolent. So like Willow had, whenever another creature you control blocks, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And then Mad Mardigan has double strike, and creatures damaged by Mad Mardigan the Exiled can't be regenerated this turn. And then his flavor text is, "Give me a sword, I'll win this war for you." So he says that to Eric at the beginning of the movie, his old buddy from Galadorn.
Hmm.
And Mad Mardigan's pretty powerful. He's 3 mana, essentially he can do 6 damage with double strike. So I felt like he was a pretty powerful mythic and probably justifiable legend, don't you
Hmm.
think?
Yeah, he's sweet.
Um, Next we've got Sherlindria's Brownies. So in this, I forget actually their names. As much as a nerd I am, I forgot the 2 named brownies. Um, but I didn't want to give them individual cards, so I just sort of lumped all the brownies together. And Sherlindria's brownies are a green-white 1/1. Um, how do we pronounce it? Weef creature or something?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know for sure, but
Ouphe. Originally, I had them as a brownie creature type, but I looked it up, and there actually aren't any brownies in Magic. And the cards that have brownies in the name are actually these Oweef or Oof creatures. So I felt like I could change the creature type to that and fit with Magic a little bit better. Sherlindri's brownies are green and a white for a 1/1. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater, and it has tap to tap target creature. And Sherlindria's brownies have been searching for the chosen one since the moment she was born, is the flavor text. And actually, Sherlindria told Willow and Migash that when the brownies captured him. So they're kind of a combination of like Amru, Kithkin, and basically all of the white creatures that tap creatures down. I
Mhm.
felt like that's kind of a good ability mashup, though. What do you think?
Yeah, it's cool. Do you think it should have been uncommon, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been. I felt like it could be common because it was multicolor, 2 mana 1/1. Um, Power 3 or greater is not like, it's not like it's
I
certainly
think
not unblockable by any means.
I think I
And
would have appreciated them more as like 2/1, actually.
I guess I just felt like their brownies, they were pretty weak, you know?
Yeah, but there's so many.
That's true. They did seem pretty weak, though. They really didn't do much.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. I remember their failed attempts.
I mean, they had like they were really small.
Yeah, they were really small.
Um, but they definitely, they get tap target creature because they did disable, they set a big trap and they
Yeah.
could, and they got Willow and Migosh. So, I don't know. Next we have Sherlindria's Wand, and this is kind of a unique effect, I thought. So it's a 4 mana legendary artifact. It's a mythic, It has 4 and tap, exile target permanent. Its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until he or she reveals a card that shares a card type with that permanent. The player puts that card onto the battlefield, then shuffles all other cards revealed this way into his or her library. So, kind of like a combination of polymorph and is there any other effect that kind of does something like that?
Yeah. Proteus staff, I think it's called, which
That
is basically like a polymorph.
for any permanent or for artifacts too?
Oh, just for creatures actually. And I mean they've done that effect a few times, like reweave and other things too. But the Proteus staff just puts the creature on the bottom of its owner's library, and then that player reveals cards until they reveal a creature card. And I think they put that card onto the battlefield and then shuffle the rest or put the rest on the bottom of their library in any order, something like that.
Okay. Um, this one is actually relevant to the movie because, as you recall, when they pick up Finn Rizal, the next card we're going to look at, she's in animal form, and Willow is not quite the masterful sorcerer yet, so he's unable to change her back into a human, and he keeps trying, and he keeps changing her into different animals. So I felt like that was kind of relevant to, or what I was trying to make the ability kind of evoke. But I don't know if you remember at the end when he's fighting Bavmorda, he also changes like an altar or a table, and he like basically activates it, turns it into a creature.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it exile target permanent. I just didn't want to make it normal polymorph. I wanted it to be a little bit more unique, you know?
Yeah.
And the flavor text is, take my wand to the sorceress Finn Rizal. She will guide you and Alora Dannon to the kingdom of Tirazleen. And that's more. Basically, a lot of this flavor text is Sherlindria talking to Willow and Migash. A lot of plot points were kind of given out in that scene.
Yeah, exactly. That
Um,
was like totally the whole synopsis of what was going to go down.
Yeah, it totally was. All right, so the next card is Finn Rizal, Sorceress of Tirazleen, and she is a red, a white, and a blue America colors for a 1/2 legendary human wizard creature. And then she has 3 activated abilities. She has red and tap. Finn Rizal deals 2 damage to a creature or player. White and tap, prevent the next 2 damage to target creature or player, or blue and tap, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2. So, very powerful card, I thought. Give me the wand, we must undo Bavmorda's sorcery, is her flavor text. And pretty versatile, I would say. Kills things, protects things, or counters things. Do you think you'd play her, Jake, if she was a commander card?
Yeah, she's really sweet actually. I wonder if her white ability couldn't have been tapped down to target creatures, you know?
Yeah, that would have been good too. Definitely.
Because I just feel like the prevent 2 damage isn't as relevant on a 1/2, you know?
Is 2 relevant or not relevant?
Is not really that relevant because she can't even withstand damage herself, you know?
But she can do it to herself, right?
Well, I mean, she can kill herself if she wants, yeah.
I mean, she can prevent 2 to herself, right? So she can technically take like a lightning bolt.
Yeah, but what you want is something that's already going to withstand the lightning bolt damage, you know? And let it protect something else too.
Oh, I see. Well, she is an old woman. And
Yeah, but she's a mythic, dude.
yeah, she
And
actually
she
is,
wants power.
oddly enough, Finn Rizal was pretty weak. She couldn't do much without the without Sherlindria's wand. Sherlindria's wand was what made her even strong enough to contend with Bavmorda. And the
Mhm.
problem was, even with the wand, she wasn't well matched against Bavmorda. So I don't know. Finn Rizal, I think she just aged too much, or just was never really on the same level as Bavmorda in terms of power level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be that.
Bavmorda was just insane.
She was insane.
Okay, the
Right.
next card is Sorsha Nakmar Trader. And Sorsha Nakmar Trader is 3 mana, 1 a white and a black for a 3/4 Death Touch Vigilance legendary human warrior. And I know what you're thinking. Death Touch Vigilance 3/4 for 3. That's pretty good. She actually has a downside. So, at the beginning of your end step, choose an opponent who controls a white creature. That opponent gains control of Sorsha Nakmar Trader. And then the flavor text is, Despite the seer's warnings, Bavmorda never believed her own daughter would betray her. Um, that's talking about when the movie actually, yeah, Bavmorda hears from a seer that one day her daughter is going to betray her, but she didn't believe it. But Sorsha does. So that's why she has the downside ability where basically if your opponent controls Mad Mardigan, Sorsha joins their team
She'll defect.
is essentially what it was supposed to be. But do you think Sorsha, if it was, not pertaining to Willow, do you think it would be a card that they could even make?
Um, I think so. I
Because it
don't think
seems
that.
pretty specific.
Yeah, and it's a mythic, legendary creature. Like there's a lot going back that are going on that prevents it from being like seen too much in limited, for instance, and that makes it not necessarily a four of in like constructed because
Yeah.
it's legendary.
Yeah.
But she's still really good.
Yeah, she's definitely good. Death Touch Vigilance is a nice ability mashup.
Mhm.
Okay. General Kale of Nakmar is next, and I love that. I loved Kale in the movie. Kale is like just the badass Black Knight that worked for Nakmar that has like this just skull helmet. Really cool character. He's 3 and 3 black for a 6/5 legendary human warrior. He has a mechanic called Malevolent. Whenever a black creature you control attacks, defending player loses 1 life. He also has sacrifice another creature to regenerate him. And then he has whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on him. So, and then his flavor text is "Now you die," and that's when he's fighting Eric at the end of the movie. It was really cool. So he's an awesome mythic. 6 mana, 6/5, already really good. Malevolent, so he punishes. He's basically like it's like a light lord effect for your black creatures. You can sack a creature to regen him so he doesn't die easily. And then when you sack creatures or when any other creature dies, he's getting bigger. So very powerful card. You think they could print something like that?
Um, his last ability might be a little too good, but I think that he's really cool.
And that last ability is actually on Ob Nixilis right now, I think, right?
Oh, is that what it is?
I'm pretty sure Ob Nixilis the Fallen has that last ability. Whenever
Oh,
another creature dies,
not
put a
fallen.
+1/+1 counter on him,
Right?
which is kind of cool. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the next one. We've got Nakmar Soldier. So this is 3 and 2 black for a 3/3 uncommon human warrior. If a creature damaged by Nakmar Soldier would die this turn, exile that creature and put a 0/1 white prisoner creature token onto the battlefield under your control instead. And then I've made the little 0/1 prisoner. It's Val Kilmer, Mad Mardigan inside of a crow's nest cage. So Nakmar Soldier, the only reason I gave him that ability is he captures both Willow and Mad Mardigan at 1 point. Actually, maybe even a couple points during the movie. So I felt like it was a relevant ability to what they should have. Next, we have Tirazleen, the Cursed Kingdom. Tirazleen, the Cursed Kingdom, formerly is where Finrazel was from. And the place got cursed by Bavmorda. You don't see that in the movie, but that's the backstory to it. So it's a legendary land that taps for a blue, and then it also has a blue in tap. Target creature and Tirazleen, the Cursed Kingdom, don't untap during their controller's next untap steps. So the story of the place is that it's frozen in stasis from a spell that Bavmorda cast on it. So I felt like it was a relevant activated ability. Being unable to untap, it's kind of like they're still frozen in that stasis. So flavorful to Tirazleen. Next, we have Troll of Tirazleen. Now, the Trolls of Tirazleen were kind of went into the place and occupied it after it got frozen in stasis. So they are definitely in the movie. And this card is a green and a red for a 2/2 intimidate troll creature. And then it has 2 red, 2 green to regenerate Troll of Tirazleen. So I felt like Intimidate, Regenerate is a pretty nice ability mashup since it both gets to evade past creatures and, preserve itself. I don't think they've even done Intimidate, Regenerate, have they, Jake?
No, it probably sounds too funny, actually.
Yeah, it doesn't, it rolls off the tongue so perfectly.
Yeah.
Next, we have the Ebersisk, and I bet most people didn't even realize this is the creature's name. I certainly didn't. I had to research to figure it out, but Willow actually uses Sherlindria's wand to turn a troll of Tirazline accidentally into the Ebersisk, which is this mighty double-headed dragon creature. We made it a dragon hydra since it's multi-headed and it doesn't fly, so it's kind of unique. It's an 8 mana, 8/8 mythic dragon hydra creature with trample. When the Ebersisk enters the battlefield, choose up to 2 target creatures. The Ebersisk deals 2 damage to each of those creatures. And then the Ebersisk also has fire breathing, so 1 red and +1/+0. And it definitely has fire breathing in the movie, too. So, oddly enough, Mad Mardigan solos this creature, which he would be unable to do based on the card we made of him. Finally, we've got Nockmaar Castle. This is another legendary land. This is Bavmorda's fortress kingdom. It's tap, add a black to your mana pool. Nockmaar Castle deals 1 damage to you. And then whenever 1 or more creatures attack you, if Nockmaar Castle is tapped, up to 1 target attacking creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. And then the flavor text is always be on alert for hot tar. So there is actually hot tar in Nockmaar Castle in the movie too. So I thought that would be a cool land and probably pretty playable.
Yeah, I'd say so.
You don't think it's too good or anything, right?
No, it's legendary too, so
You only get the one-time effect, but it is like renewable land removal,
yeah, it
which is
can
kind of
be
cool.
if your opponent attacks. And the other thing is you have to have it tapped before they attack you, you know?
Yeah, so I'm glad that it turned out like that too. That
Yeah.
is like a shortcoming. Basically, you have to take the damage if
Hmm.
you want to hope to make anything weaker. Next, we
But
have Demon Queen Bavmorda. So, very important card to this set since she's the main villain. I kind of like that picture of her too. It looks cool.
mhm.
2 a blue and 2 black, which is an unusual uh, mana cost for a creature, but I was still okay with it because I felt like it fit her pretty well. She's a 2/7 mythic legendary human wizard. She has Malevolent as well, so whenever a black creature you control attacks, defending player loses 1 life. And then she has a blue and a black X and tap. Destroy X target non-token creatures. They can't be regenerated. For each creature destroyed this way, that creature's controller puts a 1/1 green boar creature token onto the battlefield. And then flavor text is Bavmorda's powers grow like an evil plague. Only the child of the prophecy can end her destructive legacy. So I don't know if you remember at the end, but Bavmorda turns the entire army into pigs, but it turns out there are no pig creatures in Magic, so I bit the bullet and changed it to boar, which is essentially, I looked it up, a male pig that has not been castrated. So it turns out it worked out fine anyway. Boar was actually the correct creature type, um, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
So you can see a little boar token. Do you like its face looking at the camera?
it looks very childlike. It looks like a piglet.
It's very adorable.
Yeah, it is.
Um, so yeah, Bavmorda was very powerful. I felt like that's a pretty mythic effect, right? Do you think
Yeah,
or not?
I think so.
It's pretty powerful. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
multi.
kind of feel like it could have been 2/2 green boars, you know, but I still think it's fine.
I see what you're saying because usually boars you would expect to be bigger.
Yeah, and she could still kill them, you know.
Yeah, that's true. A little bit closer to Curse of the Swine in that uh, respect.
Yeah, exactly.
I see. That's
But
cool. She's.
I
Oh,
still like it.
yeah, I think it turned out fine. All right, so that's it for the Willow set. Now we're going to move on to Khans of Tarkir. Feel free to submit more Make a Wish. We've got a bunch banked right now, but I'm always welcome to looking at more for later because those are a lot of fun to make. I'm not
Mhm.
sure the next one I make is gonna have that many cards, but Willow just kind of has a special place in my heart. All right, so Khans of Tarkir. Let's get through these spoilers. We've got a lot of new cool rares to get through. I color sorted it again. So the white cards we're going to look at are Master of Pearls and High Sentinels of Erishen. So Master of Pearls is 1 and a white for a 2/2 human monk. It has Morph for 3 and 2 white, And when it's turned face up, creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. I think this is a super strong card for limited. Probably won't make it to constructed, right? Is 5 mana too much, or is that effect powerful enough where we might be
Well,
able to see it?
it's still a 2/2 for 2, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
then like it does sit there and be a creature. I don't think it's good enough for constructed, honestly. But it is still a 2/2 for 2, you know. So you could potentially play it as a like a 4 of in your deck and not necessarily feel terrible about it.
Yeah, and when it attacks, if you unmorph it, I mean, then it's swinging as a 4/4, which is pretty good too.
Hmm.
So I actually like this card a lot. It's definitely a bomb in limited, but
Yeah, I think that for
I'm
sure.
not sure about constructed yet. That is a powerful effect. I'm just not sure if it's hard to dictate where a card's going to be based on, you know, morph costs at 5. I'm just not sure.
Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
seem very aggressive, which is where you'd want to play it.
Hmm.
Next, we have High Sentinels of Erishin, 3/4 flying for 4. It's a rare. It's a bird soldier. It gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it, and then you can pay 4 mana to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So I really like this card, not only because it can pump itself, or not only because it can pump other creatures, but because it can pump itself too,
Hmm.
which I like. Um, I think this card's super playable, and
Yeah.
I mean, obviously playable and limited, but how strong is it even for, constructed? Is this possible? It's efficient enough, right?
Are there a lot of good +1/+1 effects from uh the previous block?
I guess, unfortunately, no, because, well, there's a chance with like the heroic spells.
Yeah, I suppose. But that's not that great.
Yeah, I think the problem is it kind of sucks that the why can't I think of the name of it? The one where it gets unchained, or
Monsters or whatever.
why can I not think of this name? Gorehouse Chainwalker. What's the ability he's got?
Oh, Unleash. Yeah.
Unleash is would be a really cool ability with it. It's too bad that it's rotating out.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would really like that with this ability. So yeah, I guess this is probably limited to or playable in draft or sealed only, unfortunately. But still a really cool card. It's like right on the cusp of being constructed playable. It's very
Yeah.
close since it makes itself bigger. I really like it.
I think it would make a lot of people actually really happy in the casual area because then it's like, oh, I can make a +1/+1 counter deck, you know, and go through basically legacy format, but be playing them
Hmm.
casual.
Yeah, definitely. I like it a lot. Okay, next we've got Pearl Lake Ancient and Dig Through Time in blue. Pearl Lake Ancient is 5 and 2 blue for a 6/7 flash Leviathan creature. It can't be countered. It has prowess, so whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And then it has return 3 lands you control to their owner's hand to basically bounce it to its owner's hand. This one's kind of cool. I wish it kind of had trample or was unblockable or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
hexproof, anything really.
yeah, that was my main issue with it. I felt like it probably could have been rare, but then again, it does have 4 abilities on it, technically, so that is a lot of
Yeah.
things.
But prowess doesn't work with the way that it is because you want it to have trample, like you said, or, you know, unblockable, basically.
Yeah.
If it was unblockable, it would actually, we would have something to talk about because then it would work really, really well, you know?
Hmm.
I almost think can't be countered is the worst ability on it.
Yeah, and bouncing 3 lands to bounce it is kind of difficult too, you know?
Yeah,
That really
exactly.
hinders you quite a bit.
Hmm.
So, I've got a couple issues with this card, and it's not the most exciting mythic, but um, it's a cool card for limited, absolutely, because flashing it in and getting a flash block off that is huge. So I
Yeah,
definitely think it's playable there, but a little bit just too slow and weird for constructed, unfortunately.
yeah.
Um, Next, we have Dig Through Time. So this is 6 and 2 blue instant. It has Delve, so you can make it cost 1 less by exiling a card in your graveyard. And then it has look at the top 7 cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So, um, do you think this is kind of how good do you think this is? Because it feels expensive, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think that in particular late game, this is a really great card, you
Yeah,
know, especially in a control deck that
yeah, that's a
has
good
a
point.
good amount of counters. So maybe it's a two of because
Yeah, now that you
getting
mention it, I think a blue-white control deck in constructed could really run this card
yeah,
as
I
like a
really
one of or something, or a two of maybe.
yeah. It just depends on what like I mean there are some good like delve feeders in this set I've seen in the uncommon and common spots too. Um, and I guess the previous block even had some delve feeders too, but none of them are, I guess, white really, you know.
Yeah, it feels more green or black
Yeah,
because you,
I think the blue green black deck might actually be something.
yeah, because you have wayfinders and stuff, which are really going to help feed Delve a lot, you know?
Hmm.
And then Necromancer's Assistant, but they're probably too slow. But there's probably something else that I'm just not thinking of that you can do as well. But certainly Satyr Wayfinder is going to be a big hot card for Delve
Yeah.
decks. But you're right. Dig Through Time does seem actually pretty good for a control deck as like a one of or a two of as a late game effect. Um, I kind of wish that it put those cards, the remaining cards in your
Well, of
graveyard too.
course,
But
but then it feeds itself. It's like, oh, I'll get this dig through time, and then I'll
yeah,
also get this
yeah.
wog that I need.
No, you're right. It does. So it makes sense. It's cool.
Yeah.
Next, we have black cards. Retribution of the Ancients is a black enchantment for 1. It has 1 and remove X+1/+1 counters from among creatures you control to give target creature -X until end of turn. This card's cool. It is very narrow. I think it's going to be difficult to use in limited, and then in constructed, it's probably just too narrow to play. So I think this is going to be one of those kind of bummer rares that you open. But
Yeah.
if you get enough Outlast creatures or cards that
This
put counters on, it might be okay.
this card actually would have been really cool in Ravnica block.
For all the Unleash and stuff like that.
Well, Unleash and Golgari had whatever it is.
Oh, Scavenge. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's a good point.
And then Simic too. So if you were Golgari Simic in the full block, you could get the evolve
Evolve
creature.
too. You're right. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That would have been good. This seems like it's pretty much just for Outlast.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Yeah, I think it's just a not very playable rare. Maybe if
Yeah.
you've already, because I guess one thing about this rare is it probably goes fairly late in the draft picks. So if
Hmm.
you've already got a ton of Outlast creatures, this could be a worthwhile pickup.
Yeah, that's very true. It's so specific to a strategy that yeah, you'll see it late.
Um, Next, we've got Blood-Soaked Champion, which I think is absolutely going to be making its way into constructed. This is a 1 black, 2/1 rare human warrior creature. It can't block, and then it has 1 and a black. You can return it from your graveyard to the battlefield, but you only get to activate that if you attacked with a creature. So, what do you think? I think that guy's definitely good enough
I
for
love this
constructed.
guy.
He works really well with himself in
Yeah.
multiples, which is sweet.
Hmm. I think
So,
this is an
I
awesome
just
card.
I just really like that guy a lot.
Yeah.
Um, Next, we've got Grim Haruspex, 2 and a black, 3/2 human wizard creature. It's a rare. It morphs for 1 black, and then whenever another non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. So um, this is kind of cool because you can unmorph it when you're about to do like 2 to 3 trades, you know,
Mhm.
in a combat situation, and then net value from all of your cards that are dying.
Yeah.
So I think this card is very highly limited playable, absolutely, and it's a good like power toughness ratio too.
Hmm.
It's kind of a weird power toughness ratio.
Yeah, since they've been trying to push black to be stronger toughness now, it does seem a little odd.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess like it's a more aggressive card too, you know. It's
Doesn't seem
meant to
like a
be played.
wizard to me.
Huh?
Doesn't seem like a wizard to me.
Oh.
Like a wizard power toughness is what I mean.
Oh,
Usually a wizard's like a 1/3 or like a, you know,
mm-hmm.
something like that. So that's kind of weird. But very powerful effect. Absolutely going to be hugely playable and limited. As a surprise, draw 3 cards probably or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have Ash Cloud Phoenix, which is a mythic, 2/2 red for a 4/1 flying phoenix creature. When it dies, you get to return it to the battlefield face down. It has morph for 4/2 red, and then when it's turned face up, it deals 2 damage to each player. So, what do you think about this guy? You like him?
I do. I actually really like the flavor of it.
I like it. I like it too. It like never dies. Just keeps
Mhm.
coming back. You have to exile it, or else it just
It
keeps coming
morphs back
back.
as a, well, if it's morphed, like if they kill it as a morph creature, it dies totally.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And it unmorphs. It costs a lot to unmorph.
Hmm.
But I really do like this card a lot. I think it's very powerful. Since it's difficult to kill. So um,
Do you think this could be the red deck wins mythic?
it might be. It doesn't have haste, which is definitely a shortcoming,
Hmm.
but it's very difficult to kill. You know,
Hmm.
Uh, there's not a ton of exile effects. They have to like banishing light it, pretty much, right?
Well, there's that new uncommon one. I
Was that
forget what it's
hit?
called.
Is that toughness 3 or less or something?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so it does affect this guy, but
Takes out all morph creatures too, so
yeah, I do think this card's good though. I do think this is
I like.
possibly good enough for constructed. I'm not sure. Um, all right. Next, we have a couple green, a rare and a mythic, couple green cards. Meandering Tower Shell and Hooded Hydra. Meandering Tower Shell is 3/2 green for a 5/9 Island Walk turtle creature. Whenever it attacks, exile it, return it to the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking at the beginning of the declare attacker's step on your next turn. So you only get to attack with it one every 2 turns, is that right?
Yeah,
Which makes it a little bit slow, but it is super efficiently costed at a 5 mana 5/9 with a land walk ability. So, what do you think about it?
I really like the flavor of it. It seems I like that ability is just so interesting, but I do like it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like how innovative it is.
It almost feels mythic itself, just in how weird the
I
ability
know
is.
that's what I was thinking too. I bet if they made it 4 mana, it would have been a mythic.
Yeah, even at 5, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's very cheap for how much toughness it has
Yeah,
too.
cool card nonetheless. Next, we have Hooded Hydra, which is 2 green and X. It enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it. And when it dies, put a 1/1 green snake creature token onto the battlefield for each +1/+1 counter on it. It unmorphs for 3/2 green, and when it's turned face up, you get to put 5 +1/+1 counters on it. So definitely seems like a hugely mythic card. I think this card could absolutely see constructed play, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I do wish that it wasn't a mythic but I understand why it is. You know, this is a limited bomb for sure.
Yeah, I think the morph route with it is very nice, though. That's
Yeah,
very efficient.
I think that is the most efficient thing to do.
So I like it. I think it's actually good enough for constructed. I'm not sure yet. It really depends on how much exile there is, but as far as destroying it, doesn't seem like a great strategy since giving them 5 snakes, if you
Hmm.
unmorph it. I
Yeah,
like
it's
it. Okay, let's move on to the multicolor cards. So we've got Butcher of the Horde, which is a colorless, a red, a white, and a black for a 5/4 flying demon creature. So 4 mana, 5/4 flying demon. And then it has sacrifice another creature. It gains your choice of vigilance, lifelink, or haste until end of turn. I saw this card and I was kind of blown away. I think this card is fantastic, don't you?
yeah, I really like it. It's it's kind of interesting that like it's immediately haste or whatever, and then it can be vigilant or all of them. You know, like if you have enough creatures, it can be all of it at once,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool too.
I noticed they didn't give it first strike, which is very important that they
Hmm.
didn't. So you couldn't do like lifelink first strike, which would be, a pretty nasty combo.
Yeah, at five power. Wasn't that Baneslayer Angel?
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
Baneslayer's got pro demon, so Baneslayer
so
would
this
still
guy
kick
don't
its
even
butt.
stand a chance.
What was that?
I said this guy doesn't even stand a chance.
Yeah, he doesn't. But still, this card's hugely powerful. I think this could see constructed play. I really don't understand why it couldn't.
Yeah,
You
I
know what
think
I
so.
mean? That is
Yeah,
super efficient.
I'm
So
kind
it's
of
really
surprised.
on the fixing that you think you can make work.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they didn't give it one more ability and make this one of the mythics because it seems so cool.
Yeah, really. I love the picture on it too. It looks very cool.
Hmm.
Next, we have Deflecting Palm. This is a red and a white instant rare. The next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage. If damage is prevented this way, it deals that much damage to the source's controller. So this is okay. It's like a combat trick that if you do it on a fatty, can make that fatty deal a bunch of damage to its controller. Do you what do you think about this in terms of limited playability?
Um, at 2 mana, it's nice. I mean, it can be really cool. It depends on, I mean, there are a lot of high power creatures just to support ferocious, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to keep that in mind too. I think it's good. I really do like it.
Okay.
You're only gonna get one, you know what I mean? Most likely, maybe a second one if you're really like, I don't know if you'd call it lucky, but you know, damage is the way that people kill each other in limited, and there's not really an alternate win condition built into one of these strategies. It's all about the creatures.
Yeah, I wish that it could deflect it off of a creature too, since it's rare.
Hmm.
But
I know I felt like that was maybe a little odd, yeah, that it didn't do that.
but it's cool. It's definitely a sideboard card at the very worst in limited because you'd want to bring that in if your opponent showed you any sort of mythic or big fatty, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's good enough for main deck. I don't see why this
Yeah,
wouldn't be
you could
something you
probably.
would want
I'm
to
sure
do.
you could get away with it.
With, I mean, prowess is one of the mechanics, like, and ferocious is one of the mechanics. So having multiple big creatures isn't totally out of line.
Yeah, or just respond to like a big pump spell or something with that could be cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, next we've got Jeskai Ascendancy. This is a blue, a red, and a white enchantment rare. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Untap those creatures, and then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. This card seems bonkers because untapping all of your creatures and pumping them is going to make your opponent's like attack phase the scariest thing ever. You know?
Yeah. And this one is like, out of all of them, I think the best one in multiples.
Yeah, because it just keeps making your dudes even bigger
Yeah. And each one that you cast actually pumps based on the ones you've already got out too.
and lets you filter. Basically,
Yeah.
lets you get rid of lands and find more non-creature spells.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that card looks insane. Looks very good.
Yeah. I agree.
Next, we have Keru Lich Lord. Three, a black, a green, and a blue zombie wizard creature. It's a 4/4. It's got a sweet picture. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2 and a black. If you do, return a creature card at random from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains flying, trample, and haste. Exile it at the beginning of your next end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. So basically, it brings you creatures back at the beginning of your upkeep for 2 and a black, and they get flying, trample, and haste. So very cool with any sort of self-mill strategy, and it's perfectly in color with that for the delve strategy. Right? Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really like this card. I think it's sweet. I think this is a great commander card too, actually,
Mm-hmm. I think so. Definitely.
in a
So this,
Mimeoplasm deck.
yeah, yeah, that's true. It could be cool with that. Any sort of self mill. I like that guy though. Very cool. It's always cool to see the zombies that pull creatures out of graveyards. Like, what's the mythic from Dark Ascension called that does that?
Uh,
Whatever that
oh,
card's called
Haven
is
Go
very
Lich.
cool.
Haven Go Lich.
Yes, I like that a lot. I thought that was a cool card.
Yeah, me too.
Um, okay, next we have Rakshasa Death Dealer. This is a black and a green 2/2 cat demon creature. It's a rare. It has a black and a green. It gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and a black and a green regenerate it. Seems like a very strong limited card. What do you think about it for constructed? I guess if Lotleth Troll didn't see play, maybe this one won't either.
Yeah, it really depends, I guess, on how good just straight black green is because it's only black green, you know. You don't really want to be playing a third color with this one.
Yeah, it's very color intensive to use its activated abilities, but the two abilities are very good. I like it a
Yeah.
lot.
And it's cool that the +2/+2 doesn't have a limit on it, so it's like a shade.
Yeah, that's true. And it's a cat demon, so it's like a weird creature type. Overall, it's a cool card.
Mhm.
Definitely, I like it. Um, Next, we have Siege Rhino. This is one colorless, a white, a black, and a green for a rare rhino creature with trample. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. So, seems like a great card. Very
Yeah.
efficiently costed. It's got trample, so goes over top of dudes, and it gains you life, and it makes them lose life. It's doing everything you want it to. Is there any
Yeah.
bad part about this card?
No. I feel like there's really no bad part about it at all, actually. I
The
mean,
mana cost is it's color intensive. That's it.
yeah, but it's like a really sweet locks it on hierarch, basically.
Yeah, I think that card. I actually think Siege Rhino could see constructed play like
I
easily.
think easily, yeah. If that color combo is a like legit strategy and it's looking like the fixing's good enough where it could be,
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a
especially
cool card.
combined with Theros block fixing, you know.
hmm Next, we have a Mythic Surik Dragonclaw. He's two colorless, a green, a blue, and a red for a 6/6 flash Mythic human warrior creature. He can't be countered, and creature spells you control can't be countered, and other creatures you control have trample. It's too bad he doesn't have trample himself, but
Yeah, I know.
he does flash and can't be countered, and makes all your other dudes unable to be countered. Overall, I'm pretty underwhelmed with that guild in general. Which guild is that? Whatever one that is.
Teamer.
Which one?
Teamer.
Is that what? Okay. Is that the green, blue, red?
Yeah.
I don't really like that one very much so far. A lot of the cards have been kind of underwhelming.
Yeah. They're they are kind of lackluster for having like supposed to be like the largest creatures basically.
Yeah.
I mean, even this next card is it's cool, but it's not really like wowza.
Yeah. So overall, kind of an underwhelming mythic there with Zerg Dragonclaw. Next is Trap Essence, and it's a green, a blue, and a red rare instant. Counter target creature spell, and then you get to put 2+1/+1 counters on up to one target creature. So it never gets to be a combat trick plus creature, or I should say, rarely would it be able to. But um, yeah, it just seems it seems pretty situational.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, you already have to control a creature. They have to be casting a creature spell, and it costs 3 colored mana, you
Yeah,
know.
that's a tough card to use. I mean,
Yeah,
it's powerful effects that when they come together, but it's difficult to see that happening easily.
yeah.
And it's a rare, so you don't even get to see that card very often, you know.
Oh, I feel like that's a sideboard card at best.
Yeah. Okay. Next we have Villainous Wealth. So this is a really cool card. Black, a green, and a blue, and X sorcery. It's a rare. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of his or her library, and you may cast any number of non-land cards with converted mana cost X or less from among them without paying their mana costs. So what do you think of this card?
This card's really sweet.
I like it too.
Mhm.
I like that you could get really lucky and hit like, you know, two of their bomb creatures early on with it if you ramp or something like that.
Mhm.
And I think this could actually, I think this is very easily a first pickable card, even though it's got the 3 colors. Just because in limited, exiling your opponent's library at a certain point in the game too can basically just end them, you know?
Yeah, I think this is a really sweet card.
Yeah, it's like a Genesis wave from your opponent's deck.
Yeah, I think this might be the finisher if that is a control deck, like black, green, blue.
Yeah, for limited. For constructed, it banks too much on what your opponent's playing, but it's still, that's a very cool card.
Yeah.
Okay, the next slide is the banner cycle. So Jake was kind of excited from this, the set that we made together. We had made some similar cards. Jake had made monument cards that fixed for the same colors that these do. These are 3 mana artifacts that common that tap for their shards, and then they all have their shard mana cost tap and sacrifice the banner, and you get to draw a card. So Jake's Monument cards had different abilities that each shard had, but these are definitely going to be very useful for limited. So it's cool to see this. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think these are really sweet. I like them a lot.
I like them too. Next are the other form of fixing from the set that have been spoiled, and I like these as well. So we have Bloodfell Caves, Blossoming Sands, Dismal Backwater, Jungle Hollow, Rugged Highlands, Scoured Barrens, Swiftwater Cliffs, Thornwood Falls, Tranquil Cove, and Windscarred Crag. And these are all 10 colors or combos of colors. They're all into the battlefield tapped lands that gain you 1 life. And these are at common as well. So these are going to be some great fixing for limited as well, don't you think?
Yeah, I think these are essential. I'm really glad they stepped up the fixing in this set.
I mean, these are probably going to, not even probably, these have to make it through to constructed as well, you know?
Yeah, I think
Because I think there's going to be some shortages of fixing for a little bit. So I think these are going to be played and constructed as well. I'm calling it. But yes, for limited, these are going to be awesome. It's always interesting to sort of dive into a new limited format and have to play a while to figure out how important fixing is. You know, how early you have to go into fixing.
yeah.
It's kind of a key part to understanding a limited format.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with guild gates, for example. I think early on people weren't sure how high to prioritize them, but now it feels like they're very highly prioritized in
Yeah.
Return to Ravnica draft. So I get the impression these are probably going to be similarly highly drafted.
hmm I think
Next, we have Altar of the Brood. This is a 1-mana artifact. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. I really like this card a lot. What do you think?
it's cool. I mean, it's interesting because it's like you don't really want to play it against somebody, well,
With
like
Delve?
a Delve player, yeah.
I see.
And and really I was hoping for something that would feed Delve more. So this one's just kind of interesting, you know, that it doesn't help Delve itself.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like it can really, in limited, really take somebody out, though, if you land that on turn 1.
Yeah, I think
All lands, all permanents you're playing, so creatures. Um, I think that adds up really fast after
I think
you're up to
so.
like turn 5 or 6. You know what I mean? Playing lands and stuff. Up to 5 and 6, you probably already milled like 8 to 10 cards. So
I
could be
just
very brutal.
I wish it was target player, you know.
Each opponent's
But
cool for commander though too. If you land that turn 1 in a commander game,
yeah, that's true.
that'd be kind of
And
funny.
it's cool that it doesn't say non-token permanent, you know.
Yeah, so you can do some sort of bring in 10, 20, or have Altar of the Brood and then play the what's the one that gives you the 1/1 flyers for your life total in commander?
Oh yeah. What is that one called?
Whatever that is, mill each opponent for 40. That'd be
Yeah.
pretty
Is
cool.
it Pegasus Stampede? No, that's not it.
I can't
It's
remember the name of it, but it gives you, it's like 10 mana and it gives you 1/1 tokens for your life total. So that would be cool with this card. And it's so cheap. I think that's why it makes it look more appealing, you know?
yeah. Oh, isn't it called Stormherd?
Yeah, that sounds right. Um, okay, next we have the Charm Cycle, and these are good. These are just the charms we haven't seen already. So we've got Jeskai Charm, which is a blue, a red, and a white, so America colors, instant, speed, and they're all uncommon. And you get to choose one for Jeskai Charm. Put target creature on top of its owner's library. Jeskai Charm deals 4 damage to target opponent, or creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain lifelink until end of turn. All of those seem very useful. You've got creature removal, you've got opponent burn, and you've got pump your team. Very versatile, don't you
Yeah.
think?
It's just so good with prowess too. I think this one is really good with the strategy that you're already in.
Yeah, you're right, with prowess. So you get to like double pump them and make them gain life.
Yeah, exactly.
That is really good. Okay, next we have Mardu Charm. This is red, white, and a black. It deals 4 damage to a creature. It puts 2 1/1 white warrior creature tokens with first strike onto the battlefield. And actually, they only have first strike that turn. Important to know. And then it has target opponent reveals his or her hand. Choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. That player discards that card. So, creature removal, way to get rid of non-creature, non-land cards, and then get creatures on the board. So, I like that one a lot too. Very versatile. Do you think?
Yeah, I like that as a draw step effect.
Um, yeah, you're
Like,
right. Because they get to draw, and then you could play it and make them reveal it and get rid of it. That's cool.
yeah,
I really like it as a combat trick with the creatures. That seems very nice.
yeah,
Getting 2 power first strike and then end up with 2. So it basically turns it into like a raise the alarm plus awesome, defensive card.
yeah, I agree. It's sweet.
Next is Sultai Charm. This is a black, a green, and a blue instant. And then it has destroy target mono-colored creature, destroy target artifact or enchantment, and then draw 2 cards and then discard a card. So also very useful. Destroy a mono-colored creature or enchantment and artifact. I mean, that's like covering a lot of permanents already, but then
Mhm.
being able to draw 2, discard 1 is also very good.
Yeah, feed more delve is kind of what I like to see from the Sultai stuff, you
Yeah,
know.
you're right. It also feeds your delve because it's putting itself in there as well. So feeds your delve for 2.
Hmm.
I like it. Very powerful. And then finally, Temur Charm. So a green, a blue, and a red instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It fights target creature you don't control. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3, or creatures with power 3 or less can't block this turn. I like this one a lot too.
Yeah,
The fighting is huge. Countering a spell, it straight up just has mana leak, and then making stuff unable to block. Um, I really, I guess for this one, Temur Charm is actually pretty good. But I guess it's creatures with power 3 or less can't block is a little bit less impressive, don't you think?
yeah.
Or
It's like the most lackluster ability on it, but I think overall it's a really strong one.
yeah,
You know,
fighting and
some of the
countering
counter
any
spells
spell
just
is
out of
very
nowhere.
strong. So
Yeah,
I do like Temur Charm a lot. And I think that's it. So there are a lot more spoilers, but we just don't have time to go through them all. So next week, I think we're going to be right back on point with Invasion Block, I believe, is where we left off, right?
yeah. I
So
think we have to do Apocalypse. We didn't.
is that the second one, or is it Plane Shift?
I thought we had already done Plane Shift,
Did
but
we
maybe
already
you're
do
right.
Plane Shift too? I'm not
No,
sure we
no,
did yet. Maybe you're right, but I don't think that we did yet.
no, you're right. I don't think we did.
So I think we're going to get back into that next week, as well as a new Make-A-Wish. So I'd love to see your suggestions. Tune in for another tutorial video on Travelers of Storia, my board game. Go to the website travelersofstoria.com, Storia. Join the forums and ask any questions. I'll have another tutorial video where I'm just going to do a mission walkthrough to show you how to play the game a little bit more clearly. And all right, I think that's it. Hope you enjoy Khans of Tarkir pre-releases. I'm sure we're going to be talking more about that. And I'm excited to draft this set. So
Me too.
I'm also nearing the end of my M15 draft videos. I'm just going to do one more, and then I'm going to be waiting until the Khans of Tarkir pre-releases come online. But thanks for tuning in, folks. Jake, thanks for joining me.
Yeah,
We'll
my
see you
pleasure.
guys next week.